So today we're out here releasing one of our giant black sea bass. It's a critically endangered species. This giant black sea bass was raised at Cabrillo Marine Aquarium as part of an effort with a few different aquariums involved. We have tagged this sea bass with a 10-year tag. We actually already have many sea bass out there in the ocean right now with a few smaller time frame tags, but we are hoping to see where this sea bass ends up along the rest of its lifespan along the Southern California coast. This sea bass is about 3 or 4 years old, and we're hoping that it will live to its long lifespan, which can get up to 70 years for giant sea bass. They can also get up to 7 feet long, and they can weigh up to 700 pounds. So this 10-year tag will hopefully allow us to see the next 10 years of its life cycle in Southern California waters, and hopefully be able to track it along the way.
My name is Nicole Williamson, and I am an aquarist at the Minnesota Zoo. Previously, I was an aquarist at Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California. In 2016, I was able to be successful in raising one individual. Unfortunately, I only had about 1,000 eggs to work from. So in 2018, I got a call saying that group of giant sea bass had spawned at SCMI, and so we decided to call our partners at Cabrillo Marine Aquarium because we knew that they had a nursery set up, and we were able to send those eggs over to Cabrillo.
The project itself, when it started, it was a really crazy story. Atsuhiro Kubo, who is one of our family friends, is one of the biological illustrators here at the aquarium, and his specialty is doing larval drawings. So for years, he would ask me, hey, is it possible to do some giant sea bass drawings of the eggs or the fry? You know, even if they're not alive, it'll be okay. So I would bug Nate Jaros, who at the time was a curator at the Aquarium of the Pacific. And you know, he kept his words. We went and we collected the eggs, we hatched them out, and we tried different tank setups. Setups that when they did the giant sea bass before, had not worked, but for whatever reason, we found out that the cone tanks worked out phenomenally. And the larva grew big. The aquatic nursery staff was really key on being able to figure out the formula to feed them. They used different kinds of fatty acids and mixed them in. Kubo was right on point, telling them, you know, oh yeah, these fish are eating, the food was in their gut, they were developing normally. And eventually the fish got so big that we got to release them.
Okay, my name is Atsuhiro Kubo, and I'm from Japan. And my main education I received in Japan. And fortunately, I could come to the United States. One picture tells 1,000 words. I don't need to speak English. I just show the picture, and people say, wow, you know. So I want to emphasize each stage of the fish, because some of the stages are very strong against any environmental change or any even the shock. Some stages are very sensitive, very sensitive. So from it, we can learn, okay, right now we have to be careful. Right now we don't need to worry so much. Okay, this is the time for feeding, or this is the time we can transport us. That's kind of way I want to emphasize my illustration.
The most incredible part about raising these animals were when the fry hatched, getting their food correct. And the team in the aquatic nursery here at the aquarium was very, very instrumental in that. Dr. Andres Carrillo worked on that.
My name is Andres Carrillo, and I'm currently a professor at Cypress College, and I was the research curator at the Cabrillo Marine Aquarium. The challenge with having a bunch of giant sea bass here on site was that there were many projects going on. One of them was simply just, can we raise them in the aquatic nursery? This was something we didn't know. So it was very challenging to coordinate with the staff here, staff at other locations who are also trying to raise these animals, to try to kind of fine-tune what is required for these animals to survive in captivity. That was challenge number one. Challenge number two was learning how these animals grow, because as these animals grow, just like a baby, they need different foods. And for us here in the captivity, that creates new challenges. As they get bigger, they need a different food source, a different food source, a different food source. And it was just trying to figure those things out. But luckily, with the collaboration, we were very fortunate in getting different food sources, getting different food types. We would even have some of our groups go out and collect live foods and bring them for us just for our giant sea bass juveniles. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I was stressed to no end for this release, because there were so many moving pieces for the first release. We had to get the approval from the Department of Fish and Wildlife. We had to warn all of the local, like the Coast Guards and just the local entities and the agencies. So there was a lot to do even before we even started packing them up at 5 in the morning. So I didn't get any sleep, right? I was on a different boat just to observe the process, so I didn't even get to see how the animals were doing. So the animals had to get put on the boat and they had to get fresh seawater. So I didn't even know how they were doing. I knew nothing. So I was a little nervous. But then once I started to see the staff upload, I can see them from the other side, just netting them in. I saw the fishes moving like crazy. I felt like 1,000,000 times better. Nothing like this has been done before. This was something for the first time for me. And then to see the images afterwards of the animals being released, it was just super fulfilling, because these animals right away went into their normal behaviors.
I'm Dr. Chris Lowe. I'm a professor of marine biology and the director of the Shark Lab at California State University, Long Beach. So I specialize in using various types of technology to study the behavior of animals. And what we want to know for many marine animals is, where do they go? What are they doing while they're at various places? What environmental conditions cause them to stay or leave? And where are they going to show up next? And to do that, we've had to use a lot of different technologies. So one of the things the lab specializes in is the use of acoustic telemetry as a tool to kind of spy on fish. Well, the transmitters that we inserted into those fish have a 3-year battery life, and those should be coming to an end fairly soon. But nonetheless, we were able to detect individuals up to 2 years after their release, which is a really good sign. That means many of them are surviving. But because we used the technology we did, it enabled us to track individuals and see, they're able to move 20 to 50 miles in a period of a month. That's a good sign. That means they probably have a pretty good chance of making it to adulthood. So my colleagues at University of Santa Barbara have developed a really cool tool for identifying giant sea bass based on their markings and their spot patterns. So anytime a diver is out that gets photos or video, they can share that video with them, and they can use that to identify, track, and create libraries of these animals. So it's a great tool that hopefully people will use, and it helps us better understand where these animals go, where they spend their time, and divers can help us collect more data to figure out how the population is doing. So I think the important part here is that people are actually excited to see these fish come back. In addition, people are interested, they love to dive and see these big animals, and they're contributing to science. So I think as their populations continue to increase, people's interest in these animals will increase their conservation. The unknowns are things like climate change. How will climate change affect their populations and affect their population growth? This is still an unknown, This is something that we'll be studying probably for decades to come. But based on the resiliency of the population to come back from things like overfishing, we suspect that they may also have pretty good resilience for climate change as well.
Hi, my name is Kristlyn McCarran, and I'm the Executive Director of Cabrillo Marine Aquarium. We are honored to work with endangered species, and not just because we are endeared to the animals that we take care of, which we definitely are, but because we understand the broader implications to the ecosystems that we are trying to protect. And our work with endangered species allows us to showcase the wonderful talent we have here amongst our staff at the aquarium, but it also allows us to connect with some pretty incredible partners. And this leads to a strong sense of being part of a community with a drive to protect the natural environment. I think it leaves us all with a profound sense of hope for the future.